Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror, Volume 7, Day 18, coming at you live. All right, guys. So we're going to take it back to 2009 with a film that I've been wanting to see, actually, for a couple years, ever since I kind of discovered this director. He's more known for his recent films, as he recently did Impetigore, and he also did the remake of Satan's Slaves, I believe, in 2017, which he actually is doing a sequel to his remake, which is coming out in a couple weeks, I think in November of this year or something like that. Yeah, I think it's coming out in a couple weeks, so that's kind of cool that he's making a sequel to Satan's Slaves. But of course, this film right here, directed by Yoko Anwar, and it's from 2009, like I said, and it's called The Forbidden Door. This was actually, I think, his horror film directorial debut. He has actually worked in a bunch of different genres. I think he started out doing comedies and dramas. He's done thrillers. He's done a whole pile of different types of films. I think this was like his third or fourth full-length film in 2009, and of course, he's done those ones recently too. So, a director from Indonesia. And yeah, so of course this is going to be a subtitled film. So for all you people out there that don't like to read films, that sucks. but anyways, yeah, The Forbidden Door from 2009. Quick synopsis on this one. Basically, this one follows our main character, Gambir. He is a sculptor, and he specializes in sculpting pregnant women, which is such an oddball thing, hence the cover of the film right here. It's kind of like a direct metaphor. And it's like a direct contrast to his relationship with his wife, which is very, very complicated and stuff like that. So basically, Gambir's career is taking off. Like, he is doing very, very well. He's selling a lot of his art, making a lot of money. But his relationship with his wife is definitely... It's definitely on the rocks, because they're having problems with kids, like having kids and not having kids. That's a very complicated situation. And she's kind of a real big bitch, to be honest. And, you know, he's getting a little paranoid too. Like, he hears people talking about him and stuff. He thinks a lot of people are kind of out to get him and stuff. So, you know, he's dealing with a lot in his life. His emotions are high and low all the time because, like I said, his career's taking off, but his personal life is kind of down here and stuff. And then things get a lot more complicated for him when one day he receives a phone call from somebody who's basically just asking for help. He kind of blows it off at first. Then he starts seeing, like, literally writing on walls, like saying, "Help me," and, you know, things in the ground, like, you know, writing in the ground. And then he starts receiving physical notes, like left in his backpack and, you know, at his table and stuff like that. So all these things are happening to him. Now he's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, who is leaving these messages for me saying, "Help me"? He has no idea what's going on. So that emotion mixed up with his relationship with his wife and in his career and stuff, he's just having a hard time dealing with all this type of stuff. Then one day his best friend introduces him to this kind of like underground club. And basically this club is for members only, and it specifies in, you know, you go into these rooms and you just watch like hidden camera videos and stuff like that. And it really starts to fuck with his head. He starts to correlate, you know, the hidden cameras with, you know, maybe someone that's asking for help. He's not 100% sure at first. And, you know, this all mixed up. He just doesn't really know how to deal with everything. And yeah, that's basically kind of the premise of the film. So my thoughts on this movie. This is a very interesting character study of a person that is dealing with a lot of highs and a lot of lows and just a lot of mixed emotions in his life. You know, when you're dealing with, you know, your career and the stress of that, and you're dealing with home life, like, you know, dealing with a bitchy, shitty wife and, you know, bitchy, shitty mom and, you know, having kids and all that stress. And then you add in, you know, a stress of something you don't know really what it is, and you're trying to figure it out. Man, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders to deal with. I really like how they did this. So The Forbidden Door runs just under 2 hours long. Now, that might sound like it's really long. I do feel like this could have been shortened up a tad bit, but all the stuff in the film is actually pretty relevant, and it all leads up to a pretty captivating kind of third act and stuff like that. To where this one goes, I think the payoff is worth it, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's an interesting ride. It's a very, very interesting ride of, you know, getting into the psyche of somebody, and dealing with a lot of emotions and just a lot of different things and stuff. This one right here has a lot of characters that are kind of shitty. Like I said, his wife is very bitchy. She puts a lot of stress on him. His mom is kind of a bitch too. And you start to learn, like, all the people around him are kind of shitty characters too. Now, our main character, Gambir, of course, you know, you feel sorry for him at first because he's dealing with a shitload of stuff. Like it would be terrible to be dealing with all this stuff. But at the same time, the way he deals with it at times is kind of frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. He's a pushover. He lets his wife walk on him. He lets his mom walk on him. He lets his friends walk on him. You know, he's kind of a puppet in this game. You know, he's got people pulling strings, you know, with his art showcases and stuff like that. And he's just really a puppet. He feels like he's a puppet, and he's treated like one, and he kind of acts like one too. Sometimes you just want to slap the motherfucking taste out his mouth. Slap some fucking sensibility into this mother. Like, he's such a pussy and such a pushover at times. It's frustrating to watch. But then you start to learn, you know, as the movie goes on, and it starts to make a lot more sense because things are very, very complicated in his life. Now, this one right here is kind of, it's like a slow burn. Like I said, it's a character study. It's, you know, getting into the psyche. And the cool thing about this movie, the ride is it's making you question a lot of things, like what the fuck is going on and who's doing this and why is this going on? Because there's so many elements in the film that are making you question these things, which is a really good thing because it all leads up to a very captivating, like I said, very intriguing, interesting third act in this film. Now, is the movie full of blood and gore? Not necessarily. It has one insane scene in this film. It's a dinner scene that happens at Christmas time, and I will say it is very odd to be watching a film that's not based at Christmas time, but it does have a Christmas scene in it during Halloween season. I feel like watching Christmas horror films in October just seems odd to me. It's very, very strange. I'm very much like a I watch the appropriate films during the appropriate times of the years, if that makes sense, like Christmas films in December, you know, Halloween films, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. It just felt weird to me, but the scene is batshit awesome. It's where we're going to get the most of the kills in the film and the blood and gore. And I will say the blood splatter here is ridiculous. It's like off the chain. Now, this movie right here isn't like a gore film. It's definitely a horror film. It's very horrific in itself. It can feel very dramatic at times. But I feel like, you know, the end result here is definitely worth it. And the payoff here is very good. I think it's very good. I think some people might be a little bit disappointed with it. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But I think it took a pretty wild left turn and kind of kept going in that left turn angles, if you know what I mean, man. So, yeah, it's an intriguing film. It really is. Now, running almost 2 hours, did it feel long? Not really. Like I said, maybe a little bit of a snit, you know, kind of a tighten up a little bit. I feel like there could have been a couple scenes that could have been just trimmed down a little bit, but all in all, it's very, very entertaining to say the least. So, yeah, there's definitely some very disturbing things that are happening on screen here, which really helps with the payoff. It really does help with the payoff. So, yeah, The Forbidden Door, I think it's a damn solid film. You know, I like movies like this that are dramatic, horrific, and played straight. You know, there's no comedy whatsoever. This movie's played completely dead serious, straightforward. You know, it is a mindfuck, but at the same time, it's still linear. Like, you can still figure it out. It's not like you're going to be going onto Google after, you know, Googling the end of the movie or whatever people do to figure out what the hell happened. No, it's pretty straightforward, but it does take some left turns. It does take some chances too. It definitely takes some chances. So, but yeah, The Forbidden Door, I'm coming in at an 8 out of 10 on this one. Solid film. Definitely give this one a shot. If you liked the remake of Satan's Slave and Impetigore, you'll probably like this movie too. It's definitely earlier work. I think it's shot well. It's edited pretty well. I really like the look of the movie. You know, the acting's solid overall. It just has frustrating characters. It really does, because a lot of people in this movie, even our main character, is sympathetic at first, like I said, but you know, he's hard to digest at times too. But there's a lot of shitties in this movie. A lot of shitty characters, man. But you know, sometimes they get what they deserve, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, The Forbidden Door, I don't want to give too much more about it. It's kind of one of those films that you need to see to fully appreciate, because, you know, there's a lot going on, and I don't really want to give any specifics away about the film, because that pretty much would ruin the film. It is, but it's a cool character study, and it gets damn dark. The Forbidden Door, it's a cool title for the movie too. It's very metaphorical, and yeah, it's good. So Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this review. Day 18. I'll be back tomorrow with day 19. And yeah, we'll be getting to something a little bit older tomorrow. So yeah, check you guys tomorrow. And as usual, deuces!